Microphone checking. Checking. Checking said microphone. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. Was just checking the microphone, making sure it was up nice and good. And as I said that, I just about flying kneed my microphone. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Lilo, and today we're doing the first live stream on the channel. It's actually the second one. I did this one earlier, but realized that I was recording it with my webcam mic the whole time, and it made the audio sound like trash. So now I got my actual mic plugged in, and we're going to be redoing the stream. So yeah, guys, this is going to be a new thing on the channel, new series. What this is, you can kind of view them like the behind the scenes of the X versus X is obvious series. Like, I've mostly done it for One Piece so far, like my Gear 5 versus Kaido is obvious video, Zoro versus Katakuri is obvious, those ones. This is kind of like the behind the scenes of those. And yeah, it's just going to be like a live stream version of those videos, basically. So yeah, let's start with this one. So this is Blackbeard without using his devil fruits versus Jack. And we're going to be analyzing that in detail. And just a brief rundown of how these streams are going to go. I just have them listed here on the top left in these stream chapters. You see that little nice things here. So this is how it'll go. Each one's going to start up with me just giving my current thoughts on the subject, on the power scaling of it. Then for the second part, we're going to be going to the community tab poll and looking at the results and the comments for this versus battle. So that's a good reason to get involved on that nice community post, you know. And then after that, we're going to talk about like what gaps in the argument are still remaining, what needs to be researched further, and then we're going to finish it up with just an overall conclusion. So yeah, these aren't like a replacement to the is obvious videos. This is really like, usually I do these things on my own, like this process you're seeing right here. Usually this is what I do just off screen to make the is obvious videos, and then I analyze all that and have a couple other things. But I realized, oh yeah, if I just stream it, that's pretty cool too. So let's go ahead and start. And also, guys, if you guys are commenting, I won't be able to see your comments on this stream. Wait, let me see. Let me see if I could get it to work real quick. Actually, yeah, I might still be able to get it to work. We'll see. It's the first stream. They'll get better as we go along. I want to add like background music and stuff. But enough rambling. Let's get into the stream. So, Blackbeard versus Jack. So if Blackbeard's not using his devil fruit, here's the first thing you have to consider. Well, let's put it like this. Just to make this clear, Blackbeard with his devil fruit using his full power, absolutely low diff, turns Jack into sawdust. There's nothing Jack would be able to do against that much power. Even if Blackbeard was just using his darkness fruit 2 years ago, he would still crush Jack today. So that one's really not close at all. And in scaling it off of Blackbeard versus Ace, you can tell that it would really be a stomp, because Ace was a 2nd Division commander who objectively was relative to Jack, but debatably was superior to Jack. And that fight, Ace versus Blackbeard, more or less was more or less just an actual real-life boxing match with Ace amped with a little bit of fire. And overall, it was just Blackbeard thrashing Ace around left and right. Possibly stronger character than Jack was anyway, and Blackbeard crushed him. So yeah, and then you add the quake fruit on top of it. It's not up for debate. It's just disgusting. So the real question is, Blackbeard without his devil fruits, like, how strong is he, and would he still be able to hold his own against characters like Jack? So let me put it like this. So narratively, the answer is he destroys Jack. Narratively, Blackbeard destroys Jack even without his devil fruit. One second, guys. Taking a sip of this agua. Dreamzo. Hey, what's up, Dreamzo? Thanks for hopping in on the stream. And he says, blood Blackbeard clear. Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. So let's talk about that. So first, we're going to talk about how narratively the fight would go. Then we're going to go back and talk about feats that Blackbeard has in his base form, like not using his fruits. So let's talk about it narratively. So narratively, when we look at the serious Yonko, the Yonko that like Kaido, Big Mom, Luffy, everyone except Buggy, they're all so strong that they can okay, this will get a little controversial if I say it this way. Let me let me word it right. Let me just focus on Big Mom and Kaido. They're both so strong that you take their devil fruits away and they still destroy their crew. There's nothing their crew can do against them. And that's because of their hockey, and just overall, they're just solid, legit Yonko. You expect that of them. And this was further emphasized by Kaido stating at the end of Wano that hockey is the main power-up that really determines the top tiers in One Piece. At the end of the day, what separates the upper echelon is hockey. So yeah, you look at Kaido and Big Mom, you take away their devil fruits, and they still destroy the second strongest person in their crew with no problem. They can still crush first division, second division, and third division commander fighters with no problem without using their devil fruit at all. Just hockey and straight fisticuffs, they'll still kill them. And the same thing applies to Luffy. You look at Luffy now, you take away his devil fruit, even in base form and hockey. In his base form with his hockey, he's still able to split the sky, something that no one in his entire crew has shown capable of. Zoro didn't even split the sky in his fight against King, using the King of Hell technique, while Luffy in his base form is splitting the sky. So, yeah. By that same narrative, you take away Blackbeard's devil fruits, and with just hockey alone, he would be able to rough up the next strongest person in his crew. That now, let me say this. With Blackbeard, I would lean more towards saying Blackbeard without his devil fruits can hold his own with his strongest crew members, but he's no longer beating Shiryu or beating some of those guys from level 6 would probably crush him too if Blackbeard's not using his devil fruit at all. So it's not a complete cookie cutter copy and paste, but narratively it shows you that, well, just following the narrative of Yonkos, even without their devil fruit, they're still stronger than their crew. It doesn't completely copy paste go over to Blackbeard, but he would still be able to hold his own with the upper members of his crew. And this is actually kind of backed up. This narrative is actually kind of backed up by the statements of Blackbeard that we have from the series. And the little showings we've seen of his power. So a good example being his fight against Ace is the best example. Because as I was saying at the start, yes, Ace was using fire. And Blackbeard was using darkness, but more or less it was just like a souped up boxing match. All of the damage that Blackbeard does to Ace, he does at close range. His whole strategy that fight was pull Ace in with some gravity and then crack him in the jaw with a haymaker. And he just repeated that until Ace was KO'd. While Ace was being pulled in, yes, but he still had all of his Fire Logias like projectile attacks at his display. In addition to being able to use close range attacks like Blackbeard was. So that's why I was saying it was more like a souped up boxing match. It's not like a Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha projectile fight. And in that close range battle, Blackbeard outstats Ace. He has higher physical strength. And even though Blackbeard's Darkness Fruit increases his pain that he feels from attacks, he was still able to out-durability Ace, a 2nd Division commander, and knock him out. Then he has 2 years of time skip, and you're taking that a 2 years stronger Blackbeard, stronger from adventures, stronger from traveling the seas. And then you're having him without using his Devil Fruits fight Jack. So let me piece it together like this. I put Blackbeard without his fruits at 3rd Division Commander level if he's not using his fruits at all. I put him at 3rd Division Commander level, just about there. And I would say that Blackbeard would high difficulty defeat Jack without using his fruits. And narratively, I'm probably being too hard on Blackbeard and giving Jack too much credit. Narratively, Blackbeard, even without his fruits, would low diff Jack. But based off of the feats we've seen, Blackbeard, it's kind of hard to scale where he is without his fruits, but based off of the feats we've seen him outstat Ace and Luffy pre-time skip. He outstatted Ace during their battle, and he outstats Luffy and Impel Down. Their fight didn't conclude, but it was implied by Jinbei stepping in that Blackbeard was the one who was going to win that fight. And at that time, Luffy had Gear 2nd and Gear 3. So that would put Blackbeard's stats of physical strength above Gear 2nd, Gear 3 Luffy. And then had 2 years on top of that. 2 years of adventures on top of that to get stronger. So, like I said, it's hard to say exactly where Blackbeard would be without his fruits. But I personally put him at 3rd Division Commander level without his fruits. And then with his fruits, he's a Yonko tier. That's where I put Blackbeard. I'm thinking to myself if there's anything else I could add that would make the point a little bit more crisp, like a little more standalone. Let me read some of the comments really quick because I want to go to the community poll next. But I have some more feats for Blackbeard that I haven't mentioned yet. I'm just thinking if it would matter because I've kind of explained my thoughts. I'll let these guys in the chat describe. So I have a few more feats for Blackbeard. Do you guys want me to list those before I go on to the community poll, or do you guys want me to just go to the community poll right now? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, we haven't gotten a response yet. What I'm going to do, I'm going to list a couple more feats for Blackbeard before we go to this community poll. Because it gives you an idea on how strong base Blackbeard is. Because if you haven't seen like all of One Piece and you just look at Blackbeard, he just looks like a chump. So yeah, let me explain some of his better showings. So his best showings of no fruit having Blackbeard is him scarring Shanks and him killing Thatch. So him scarring Shanks was impressive because, so if you look at Chapter 1 of One Piece, Chapter 1 Shanks has a scar on his, I think it's under his eye or it's on his face somewhere. And that's a scar given to him by Blackbeard. And we don't know the exact age Shanks received the scar, but we know it was after Roger died and before Shanks met Luffy. And we see in a few, so One Piece puts out these promotional episodes for Film Red. It's a couple episodes that came out right before the Film Red movie was released, and they give more information about like some of the characters. During those episodes, they show that Shanks's bounty in chapter 1 of One Piece was 1 billion. It was like a little bit above 1 billion. So it was lower than Luffy's bounty after Whole Cake Island. And it was in the tier of bounties that you see 3rd Division commanders have. The highest 3rd Division commander bounty we saw, it was probably Jinbei now. But for example, Jack's bounty was 1 billion, and Shanks's bounty is a little bit above 1 billion during the Uta special episodes. Now, bounty's not a 100% straight indicator of strength, but once you get above so here's something worth mentioning. Once you get to 1 billion, they don't hand those out for free. Like, getting to 1 billion bounty, everyone in the One Piece series that has 1 billion bounty, with the exception of Buggy, is very, very strong. You have to be a very powerful character to reach that level, and it's usually 3rd Division commander and up is billion bounties and up, right? It's not exactly like that, but that's just something. So Blackbeard without a fruit was capable of scarring someone around this level of power, or at least he was able to scar someone who had close to 1 billion berry bounty. It's possible that the Blackbeard it's possible that the Shanks that got scarred already had the 1 billion berry bounty while he received the scar, and that would put Blackbeard with no fruit having his best feat of being able to scar Shanks. But like I said, we don't know the exact age Shanks was when he got the scar. We just know he was younger than 27 and like older than 14, or whatever age he was when Roger died. And another thing that makes that impressive is because Shanks fought Mihawk several times, and we don't know if Mihawk ever successfully scarred Shanks. So, I mean, highballing this Shanks scar feat, that would mean that Blackbeard, without a fruit, achieved something that Mihawk never did. So that's why a lot of people hype that scar up a lot. And people say, like, even to this day, they don't think that Jack would be capable of scarring that 27-year-old Shanks we see in Chapter 1. So that's something that people throw out a lot when talking about how strong Blackbeard is without his fruit. And then killing Thatch was really impressive too, because with Thatch, he was the 4th Division commander, but with Whitebeard's pirates, they're not exactly ranked by strength. So let me see, how do I put this? So with Thatch, here's a good way of putting it. When Ace was on their ship, during the Ace backstory, Ace was on their ship trying to kill Whitebeard. And he asks Thatch, he's like, hey bro, like, why didn't you guys put me in chains or shackles or anything? I'm just kind of free roaming around here. And Thatch was pretty much like, bro, you're fodder. We will pack you up if we have to. It doesn't matter. Like, we can all thrash you if we needed to. That wasn't word for word what he said, but it was more or less the vibe he gave out was that Thatch was stronger than Ace at that point, or that he just wasn't intimidated by Ace at all. So, and this was Ace, who was even to Jinbei, debatably even stronger than Jinbei. Because at the end of their fight, Ace gets back up to fight Whitebeard, while they don't show Jinbei getting back up in the anime. And so there's a possibility that Thatch was stronger than Jinbei and Ace, and then Blackbeard without a fruit still killed him. The thing about that, though, is in the anime, when they show Thatch dead, they show him with a knife in his back, meaning like Blackbeard just legitimately snuck attack, stabbed him in the back, and killed him that way. So that's not really that much of a feat either. But I need to look in the manga and see if they show that same scene, and Yeah, so it actually might be a legit strength feat. It could have been Blackbeard challenged Thatch and then just straight up killed him in a 1v1 fight. But that is something that's worth mentioning. And here's the thing. Here's the thing when it comes to scaling Blackbeard no fruit. Scaling Blackbeard without his fruit is hard because he doesn't have a lot of on-screen feats without using his fruit powers. It's a lot of off-screen statements that you talk about, analyze, and kind of piece together. Another thing we've seen Blackbeard do that was really impressive was he took an earthquake to the face from Whitebeard at the end of Marineford. Yeah, that's something that I wanted to mention too. But anyways, let's go on to the point number 2. Let's go into the community poll results in the community poll comments. Oh, and I see Mochi said he wanted feeds. Okay, yeah. So we just listed out those feeds, but let's go into the community poll results and comments really quick and look at what people were saying there. Yeah, so let's look at those. So on the community poll, Blackbeard won overwhelmingly. Blackbeard with no devil fruit versus Jack. Blackbeard won overwhelmingly. And let's look at some of the top comments. So under the top comments, the top one is Jack will find a way to lose even if he was somehow stronger. And as you can see, I made sure to love this comment. That was one of the main reasons, not this comment in particular, but just what I'm about to say here is one of the main reasons why I wanted to make this. Jack gets slept on by the community so hard, bro, by like everybody. And at first, when Jack was first introduced, people gave him so much respect. They were saying, like, this dude's crazy. He fought Nekomamushi and Inuyarashi for 5 days straight, no breaks. And he was pretty much beating them both. And he was doing all this crazy stuff. But then once Wano started up, he got just shredded by Ashura Doji. And then he got beaten up by Nekomamushi, right? Or was it? Or no, Inuyarashi beat him. Yeah. And pretty much after that, everyone's just been memeing Jack to dust. Like, everyone thinks he's trash now, but he's actually really strong. And one of the things I was thinking was, like, Blackbeard with no fruits is about a 3rd Division Commander level fighter. Like, all the 3rd Division Commanders would be able to give Blackbeard a hard fight without his fruit. But anyways, let's look through these comments. The next top one here is from Scion Duck, and he says, Jack stomps until we know how Blackbeard gave Shanks his scar. Okay, so that's actually a really good point. So the thing with Blackbeard is this dude is sketchy and does things shady all the time. So, I mean, there's a chance that he might have, like, jumped Shanks, and it wasn't even a 1v1 fight. Like, that's very possible. So, yeah, I understand what Scion Duck's saying there, and then that would take away the value of Blackbeard scarring Shanks. So I see what he's saying, because a lot of it kind of is what I was trying to say a little bit too earlier. And not, let me word that better. It goes along with what I was saying too. It's like, it's a little bit easier to scale Blackbeard based off of narrative than it is based off of feats, because, like, a lot of his fights are off screen. And then, okay, so let's look at this one. Blackbeard killed Thatch, a 4th Division commander, and scarred Shanks by himself. Those are elite feats. Jack could never. He's like 0-7. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, really thinking about that, I don't know if Blackbeard, like, I don't know if Jack would be capable of killing Thatch. I don't think he would, especially considering that Thatch might have been stronger than Ace and Jinbei. And scarring Shanks, current Shanks, there's no chance, obviously, but like 27-year-old Shanks, who knows? That's probably not either. Yeah, probably not. So he has a pretty good point. Like, those are pretty elite feats, and it's like, yeah, Jack might not be capable of doing any of those same things. So you have a great point there. Is there any other highlighted comments? And this one, man got so bored he just started posting random stuff. Now, yeah, okay, yeah, bro, ain't even a challenge. Yeah. So yeah, that's the community poll stuff, and more or less, it's pretty much the same. The same stance I was taking on it is like narratively Blackbeard stomps Jack out, and based off of feats, he like high difficulty defeats Jack without his fruit. Now let's talk about this. What needs further research? Oh wait, one sec. We got another message. Let me read this message really quick. From All Hail the King. Let me read this. Okay, yeah. All Hail the King has a really good point. Is Blackbeard, like the shanks that Blackbeard scarred had both arms as well. It's a great point. Yeah. So that is something worth thinking about too. So now let's talk about what needs further research. Basically, like what separates this stream from being one of the what separates this stream from being Blackbeard versus Jack is obvious. Is like there's still a bunch of gray area that I need to put more research into to make this more airtight. And so this segment of the video will be me just saying those things, like basically what are the holes in the argument that can be patched up some more. So let's talk about it. For one, it's the same thing that Scion Duck was saying. We don't know exactly how Blackbeard scarred Shanks. We don't know like how that exactly happened. We need to see that. Another thing is how pretty much everyone, not everyone, let me put it like this. People way weaker than Blackbeard are tagging Blackbeard. Like we saw pre-time skip Luffy in Gear 2nd tag Blackbeard and actually damage him a decent amount. Let alone some, and then we look at post-time skip, we see Luffy, who's exponentially stronger and using Haki, does Hawk Gatling, like, so it's Jet Gatling with Armament Haki together during Dressrosa on Doffy, and Doflamingo can't even feel that. And you have pre-time skip, you have just Jet Pistol from a far weaker Luffy was able to do like some serious, not life or death damage, but did do some damage to Blackbeard and impel down. So, I mean, he can get hurt by pretty much any attack that's thrown his way. So looking at what the ceiling to how much damage he can take and looking at all the people who could tag him and figuring out who can tag him now, who can't tag him now, is something that would need to be researched. Another thing is looking at any statement Shanks has about being scarred. If he says that he's been scarred like multiple times, then scarring Shanks becomes less valuable, and that feat of Blackbeard scarring him becomes less important. So that's something I would look into as well. I'd also analyze the manga fight of Blackbeard versus Whitebeard and compare it to the anime fight of Blackbeard versus Whitebeard. I think in the anime, they add Blackbeard like grabbing Whitebeard's wrist and uppercutting him like 20 times in Toei pacing style. In the manga, I think Blackbeard punches him one time and then gets slashed. So it's like little changes like that the anime does for pacing affect scaling sometimes too. I would also look and see if Blackbeard's in any fillers to see if they show filler Blackbeard doing anything, because I could at least give you some feats. I'd then try and see if there's any statements that explicitly say how much the darkness fruit nerfs his durability. Like, does it make him multiple times weaker or just a little bit weaker? And I'd also look for any information on how strong Whitebeard division commanders are. Like, for example, something, I was just watching Marineford yesterday, and I think there was a statement in there somewhere that said Whitebeard's pirate crew was the strongest pirate crew at that point in the series. I need to double check, but that's like something I would look for too. Yeah, so those are all interesting points and all like areas that need to be researched more, and researching them more would make a much more solid overall product if this was like a is obvious video. But those, like, there's a lot more that needs to be padded out. And one of the big weaknesses going into this fight is that Jack's strength is his durability. He's an ancient zone, and it was shown in one. Let me put it like this. So yeah, one of the glaring problems is that Jack's strength in this fight is his durability, and Blackbeard's weakness in this fight is his durability. All the damage Blackbeard takes gets increased by his darkness fruit, while Jack is over here so durable that he was able to take a full smack. He got smacked by a Zunisha and survived that. So there's a lot of different things here that need to be researched further to make a more conclusive argument. And something else I want to say, I'm going to segue into the conclusion right here. But one thing to keep in mind is, like, when I make the is obvious videos and now making these videos, these ones, I think I'm going to call it the super close series. And as I was saying earlier, these are all pretty much like the behind the scenes of the One Piece is obvious videos. But my mindset when I make power scaling videos of any kind is I really try my best to portray the idea as close to what Oda would say if Oda were to, like, answer the question himself. So, like, I really try and, like, keep my feelings out of it, and that's why I just focus on, like, exactly what the manga says or exactly what the manga implies, and I state what it says, and I say implies when it's just implied, you know? So when I make the is obvious videos, I want them to have more research. These super close ones are pretty much like just the beginning research portion. And I just realized, if I stream it, people would probably like that. But yeah, so now let's get into the conclusion. So the conclusion overall, my stance on it is that Blackbeard narratively would, like, mid-diff Jack. And then based off of feats that we've seen, and it's hard, you can't really say it. Like, I wanted to split it narratively and then based off feats, but it's more like narratively, and then the other one is just what I think would happen based off of narrative and feats together. What I think would happen based off of narrative and feats, I think would be an extremely hard, I would put high difficulty victory for Blackbeard. Because it would literally be Blackbeard just running around punching Jack in the head while Jack tries to kill Blackbeard with whatever Jack does. And I'm saying that Blackbeard, based off of what he was able to do against Shanks, Ace, because, I mean, Blackbeard versus Ace was more or less just a boxing match where he beat Ace up, and Ace was physically superior to Luffy, at least base Luffy. And then you have 2 years where Blackbeard's going on adventures. I think all of that together would be enough to take Jack out. And here's something else I was thinking of too. Here's a way you could, like, make base Blackbeard sound more impressive. So pre-time skip, like during Marineford, we never see Blackbeard use Haki or say that he's using it. And when he fights Ace and he, like, cracks Ace in the neck, nearly breaking Ace's neck, he says, like, and Ace is shocked by it and surprised by it. Blackbeard goes ahead and starts talking about the fruit. He doesn't say, oh yeah, Ace, this Haki it's pretty strong, right, bro? This Haki I'm using is pretty wild. He's like, nah, it's the fruit. The fruit is crazy. The fruit is why you weren't expecting to take damage. So it's a stretch, but, like, some people say they don't think that Blackbeard knew how to use Haki pre-time skip, and they kind of use that as, like, a little bit of leverage for it. It's not a strong argument, but if you wanted to make that argument, you can highball Blackbeard a little bit. You could say, like, okay, Blackbeard was stronger than Luffy going into the time skip. Even with just a darkness fruit, he was stronger than Luffy. And then he learns Haki on top of that and has 2 years of Yonko level adventures. And so that power up together would make him cracked, especially when you consider that Luffy, just going from a base frump who didn't know what hockey was, learned the basics of hockey, and came back and was one-shotting pacifistas. A similar a similar multiplier could be highballed onto Blackbeard if he really didn't know hockey pre-time skip and then learned it during the time skip. So, yeah, so that's something you could use to like highball the multiplier of power. Well, how do I word it? That's a way you could exaggerate how strong base Blackbeard is, and it's a way you can exaggerate like base Blackbeard's strength gains. But based off of everything we've seen in the series, based off of narrative and just like using brain, like just using my thoughts and putting it all together, that's my stance on it. Is I would say that based off of the narrative, Blackbeard would like mid-diff Jack, but based off what we've seen in the narrative together, it's looking more like a high difficulty, like really difficult battle for Blackbeard, but he squeezes out the W against Jack even without his fruits. And then if he uses his fruits, even if he just used just his darkness fruit, he would destroy Jack. That would be like maybe low diff. Yeah, that was everything I wanted to go over. Let me just take this time to look through the comments really quick. So this is a comment from All Hail the King. He says, my money's on Jack because we don't know how Blackbeard scarred Shanks, and Blackbeard caught his, what is that? Well, Blackbeard got caught off guard. I'm not sure what that says. And Whitebeard don't rank off of power but loyalty. Oh yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, Whitebeard. So I read it in SBS somewhere that Whitebeard's commanders, they don't follow orders from one another. Like Marco doesn't boss around the third. Well, Marco doesn't boss around Ace. Ace does not boss around Jozu. Jozu doesn't boss around Vista. It's like having a higher rank does not give you superiority over the other commanders. And I need to read that SBS again, but it was also implying that it's not strength-based either. Like, some of the numbers are not... Like, just because Marco's number one doesn't automatically mean he's the strongest. He probably is, but it doesn't automatically mean it. And that's also, like, pretty much confirmed during Marineford, where Sengoku says, like, hey, the whole plan of the whole crew was to make Ace the Pirate King. The Whitebeard Pirates, once Ace joined, pretty much just became the Ace Pirate King boot camp. And so they made him the 2nd Division commander when he debatably did not deserve to be ranked that high, especially considering how powerful the Whitebeard Pirates are as a whole. Like, he probably, and that's also like kind of further shown by Thatch not even being intimidated by Ace, and then Ace going to be 2 division commander ranks higher. Yeah, so it's more likely that they made Ace the 2nd Division commander so that he could get more experience more quickly. Also, another thing to think about is they made Odin the 2nd Division commander when he was clearly the 2nd strongest guy in the crew. He should have been the 1st. But I guess Marco just had the 1st Division commander spot for a long time. Well, no, when Odin first joined, who had the 1st Division commander spot when Odin first joined? It couldn't have been Marco, right? Because Marco was still an apprentice. Not sure. That's something else I'd have to research. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching. And yeah, I'm going to be doing these streams as just like an ongoing thing. And for anyone who's confused who was here at the earlier stream, the earlier one, it was recording the audio like through my webcam, and I wanted the audio to be better. Figured out, oh, you just had to change some settings and got it to work. So recording it through the mic on this one. But yeah, this is the first super close stream, and a good way to be involved in these is like I post the Who's Stronger community tab posts pretty regularly. At one point we were posting them every day. And we'll probably get back into that. But just keep checking the community tab posts. I post the Who's Stronger poll there. You can vote there. And then the same day or like the day after that, or if I'm real busy, at least within the same week, we'll do a live stream talking about it, talking about the results of the poll, and talking about some of the top comments. But yeah, that was everything I wanted to talk about today, guys. Let me know what you thought about the stream. This is the first one on the channel. And I just started thinking like, oh, you know, we can make a big old series out of this, dude. We have like hundreds of these. And this helps me with making the video anyway. Like I usually just do this by myself. And I was like, oh, if I just stream it, then you get like 2 videos from 1 video. It's smart. It's nice. So yeah, that is going to be a new thing we do on the channel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we're gonna figure out how to have background music going, make it a lot nicer as I get more experienced with this stuff. But yeah, it's just how it always is. Even if you like go back to my videos and you go to the very first one and you compare it to like the ones now, they just get way better as I like figure out what I'm doing. You just have to keep screwing up until you've figured out like how to not screw up, basically. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Oh man, whoa, my OBS icon. Wait, let me do this properly. Yeah, you see, these are the things I'm talking about, being a new